Peace, family. Today we're reading from the Daily Stoic, and today's topic is fueling the habit bonfire. And it starts off with a quote by the great Epictetus, the great ancient Stoic philosopher. It says, "Every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, walking by walking and running by running. Therefore, if you want to do something, make a habit of it. If you don't want to do that, don't, but make a habit of something else instead." The same principle is at work in our state of mind. When you get angry, you've not only experienced that evil, but you've also reinforced a bad habit, adding fuel to the fire. End quote. Right? And it goes on to say, "We are what we repeatedly do," Aristotle said. "Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit." The Stoics add to that we are a product of our thoughts. Quote, "Such as are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind," Marcus Aurelius put it. Think about your activities of the last week, as well as what you have planned for today and the week that follows. The person you'd like to be, or the person you see yourself as? How closely do your actions actually correspond to him or her? Which fire are you fueling? Which person are you becoming? So, really, really deep, let's jump into it. Let's unpack this a little bit, all right? Every habit and capability is confirmed and grows in its corresponding actions, walking by walking and running by running. Therefore, if you want to do something, make a habit of it. If you don't want to do that, don't, but make a habit of something else instead. The same principle is at work in our state of mind. Here's the part that I think is key. When you get angry, you've not only experienced that evil, but you've also reinforced a bad habit, adding fuel to the fire. Every action is reinforcing a certain identity and habit. A lot of times we think that because we do something as a one-off, it's just a one-off. No, you're making a small deposit into a certain identity and into a certain habit by even committing that action even one time. Okay? Habits are very, very easy to develop. Us as human beings, we are creatures of habit. So every action is contributing to a certain identity and a certain habit, and you have to be aware of that. Okay? Aristotle said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence is not an act, but a habit." Now, this is important to understand as well, because in order to be great at something, right, to be excellent at something, right, it has to be an identity, right? It has to be who you are. It has to be programmed into your subconscious. When we look at world performers, like the best in the world at what they do, they don't really think, they just perform. Like they've spent so much time programming themselves and implementing muscle memory that they don't really have to think, right? It's just a habit, okay? But in order to get that, it's the practice of repetition, okay? In order for something to become a habit, you have to do it over and over and over again, okay? And like when it comes to not only becoming a habit but becoming an identity, you have to do it over and over again. But in order to start doing something over again, you got to start with that one first action, okay? Right now, this even goes back to our mind, because when we think about habits, a lot of times we only think about like physical actions, okay? But habits are more than just physical actions, right? In the sense that it's like your thoughts as well, right? Because you can have a thinking pattern or a thought loop that you're constantly running in your mind, okay? So Marcus Aurelius said, "Such as your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind." And one thing I learned, in my personal development journey is like your thoughts affect your emotions affect your actions, and your actions affect your results. So what Marcus Aurelius is also saying is that such as are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind, which also will affect how you feel, your emotions, your actions, and what you do, and then ultimately the results that you receive in your life. Okay? Now, there's a challenge here as well. It says, think about your activities of the last week, as well as what you have planned for today and the week that follows. The person you'd like to be, or the person you see yourself as. How closely do your actions actually correspond to him or her? Which fire are you feeling? Which person are you becoming? And this is why on my channel I speak so much about identity, right? And getting clear on the person you want to become, the person that is required for the fulfillment of your vision. Okay? Because once you have that clarity, you can have these discussions and conversations with yourself about like how closely do your actions actually align and are congruent, with that version of yourself overall, right? And all of this really comes back down to being aware and being intentional. Okay, being aware and being intentional, because when you're aware and you're intentional, what happens is, turn the mic on, right? When you're aware and when you're intentional, you're able to think about these things. Like you're able to have clarity on the person that you want to become and align your life with that version of yourself and get clear on your principles, get clear on your standards, get clear on your habits. Okay? So what the author here is really saying is like feeling the habit bonfire. It's like really being intentional and aware of the actions that we're taking on a daily basis, because whatever action that you're taking, you're feeling some habit bonfire, whatever action that you may be taking. Okay? And it's just important to be aware of that and never think that one action is just a one-off. That you can hide from it. No, everything that we do is a small deposit into some identity, some version of ourselves. Okay? So make sure that you're feeling the right fire. Okay? Because a lot of people out there are feeling the wrong fire, and they're in a spiral down a path of a version of themselves that is not congruent, that is not aligned. And I'm here to tell you today, based on this passage, that even when you start to feel that wrong fire, that fire can grow strong, and you can find yourself even in a worse trap that you're struggling and trying to get out of, like the person who said they were going to go to the gym and then starts overeating, and they just keep overeating, and they work themselves into a bad state, right? Because they just kept making these deposits into a version of themselves that wasn't congruent. So please make sure that the deposits that you're making every day, are intentional. That the deposits that you're making every day are in alignment with the best version of yourself, with the ideal identity. Okay? Don't take any action for granted, because every action, again, is reinforcing some identity and some version of yourself. Okay? And this is also why reflection is important, because you can analyze and see if your actions, if your behaviors are in alignment. Okay? But you can only do that through true, honest reflection. Okay? So, today's excerpt was from the Daily Stoic, Fueling the Habit Bonfire. And I hope this added value to you. All right? My channel is all about personal development, law of attraction, and all things in between. If you enjoyed this video, might be beneficial to subscribe. If not, no problem. All love. Peace, love, and abundance until the next video, y'all.